Move, shaking. Let's give us all a hand, a little bit of hand here. My partner Angelo and I have been commissioned to do a documentary film on the more salient aspects to the student loan system. Student debt, loaning, how there's a disjunction between expectations and realities. The camera, this is a we're documentary filmmakers. The camera is a scalpel. It's getting in there to cut out abscesses, cancerous formations, or at least, as I forget which philosopher said this, lies like sunlight. Sunlight exposes all. To bring something to the sunlight, paraphrasing, turns everything into truth. Okay, sorry about that butchering of, I think it was Voltaire or something.
Great intro.
Sure. Thank you. Let's talk. Angelo, how should we, and this is an open letter to our prospective clients who are going to fund us through the sources we have found and determined on the costs. It's proof of our ability to critically formulate and think and to give a little traction, thanks to the beautiful background here, but we're trying to keep it all real. Angelo, what are bullet points? How should we go about this?
I think a good question to start with is what you pay for like really worth the value of that money?
So we're looking at a before and after situation, or at least poking our camera around here at campus and then going out into the wilds and finding various ex-students.
So it's good to see like what your money will get you after you graduate. It's good to see where students are after they graduate, and it's good for the school to have a great reputation, but at what cost is this to you? You can get all this information online for free. Why is it important for you to go to Stony Brook to get this education specifically?
And then we just saw a series of statistics, not recent, 2010, which talk about something like two-thirds accept loans, which makes me wonder about that one. Who's the one-third here? Well, Omar is. You're one-third, don't pay loans?
Yeah,
Well, your family's still paying. So who's on here, full scholarship or do not have your parents paying? You, John? Good. So you're that lucky one-third who's going to get out of here without debt, right? Okay. Couple other things. And we saw in the statistics it's 9%, 25 and under, are still unemployed. Unemployed. And then it was a full 25, 30, 50% who were underemployed in a job that they could have had without going to college. If we check that further, I'm sure it goes into their 20s, 30s, 40s, or even,
Sure.
we hear these stories that no one ever gets a job they would have gone. The traditional, personally, I'm a faculty member. Great university, Stony Brook. We're not, hi Mom. We're not inspecting Stony Brook in particular, but we're just having an open discussion about this. We're using film as a medium. Classical argument I heard, and you guys probably hear it every day, you're not going to school to have a nice job. You're going to school to learn critical thinking. Who's gotten that debate? You
Definitely.
did. Parents, colleagues, other faculty members, where have you heard this?
Well, to me, at least from my personal experience, you could see that anybody can go to class, anybody can sign up for a class, but what makes the difference between a student who really understands the material and a student who just sits there,
Critical
and
thinking.
number crunches and then gets their A's,
Bean counters as opposed to critical thinkers.
I think a big deal of it is the experience that you get out of it and how you apply it. So anybody could just go through the 4 years, not do a single thing besides classwork. What are they going to get out of it? They're not going to get jobs after school. But students who apply themselves, students who are like super involved on campus, like they have a little more to get out of it. But at
Right.
what cost,
Are they learning social skills they wouldn't get out in the kind of street world?
Definitely.
The school of hard knocks. Anyone else? Are you learning social skills here that you would not learn on the streets? You think, Alicia, what do you think?
I think that like having a part-time job has taught me social skills because I think it's important to be able to communicate with people you don't know, people you see every day but you don't know personally.
Right.
That like working at Starbucks, I know everyone's drink orders, and I don't know these people from Hole in the Water know their name.
But they walk up, you see Miss Jones again,
She
said, "You know me, Alicia," and there's a
Yeah.
little human contact there, which might, as a skill, it's nice to have it intrinsically, human skills, because humans are great things. I'm not a misanthropist. They're fantastic. Who thinks this is, and again, not Stony Brook, who thinks this is a human zoo or a human warehouse? I see no hands raised, but I see some faces. Catherine. Is this a warehouse? Forklifted in, boom. If you're cooked, bring them out.
Depends.
Depends.
on who's teaching. Depends on who the teacher is.
Ah, so that
I
depends.
don't say every
Certainly not my
single-
class.
Oh yeah. I don't say every single class. It really depends on who's running it.
Right. So that's case by case.
Yeah.
Case by case. So Angelo, my colleague, we have a couple of controls here to approach you, the grantor of our wonderful money of which we'll do this. We recognize that something's wrong, right?
Yes.
Who does not think there's something wrong? No one. With the educational system. Couple controls here I want to throw in. Angela, respond. We said we learned skills here, but you've learned fantastic skills working at Starbucks. As banal as that seems, it's a groovy place, right? I go there to work when I don't want to be told by independent coffee places, get your laptop out of here, you've been here too long. It's like, I never feel that way about Starbucks, right? And you never kick anyone out for being there all day long, right?
We don't have a lounge, but we wouldn't if we did.
Gotcha.
Let's take this laptop and let's make this a metaphor now, right? For
The-
higher
the
education.
laptop?
The laptop in Starbucks. You know, some students can stay here for 4 or 5 years and not know what they want to do, and the school can say, you know, I want to kick you out, or, you know, what are you doing here, man? Like, what's your major? What are you trying to do with your life?
Yeah, you're
Or-
not just marking time here, treading water,
Exactly.
or here racked in zombie warehouse. And,
So a big
and
problem
so
is some students try to stay in school longer to get more, to get 2 degrees maybe, or to get 2 degrees in a
Why?
minor.
Why is that? Why? I mean, this stuff isn't. How many are enjoying your college experience? I see half people. Why not?
Well, I kind of enjoy aspects of it.
What are a couple bullet points of the aspects you enjoy?
I like being on the campus, like the social aspect. I'm kind of sick of the school system though.
And I heard from a few of you today that you particularly you city people, Jen, you wanted a live-on situation, right? Live-on campus situation. From what you heard about it, has it lived up to reality? Has the reality lived up? Commuting's tough, man. And then you go. How many feel this is still? And this originally there was designed as. Oh, sorry. Name again. Nicole. Originally, this was designed as a paradigm to have middle class people breed with other middle class people. The colleges and let's face it, in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, even and especially the 50s. This is how many of your parents met at college? There you go. Mine did. And this was socially designed, so middle class people could get together. And how many intended being married after your senior year? None of you. There you go. So maybe you're not doing what mom and dad did. Everyone laughs. So things have changed already according to the perception. A couple other benchmarks or controls on this. Angela, weigh in on the autodidact, the person who teaches themselves.
Okay, so
A lot of the most famous people in our human history, like Einstein flunked calculus. John Stuart Mill knew French, Greek, Latin by the time he was 5 years old. George Bernard Shaw was a total autodidact, never went to college.
right.
What has become of the autodidact, the person who teaches themselves?
I think sometimes they're more well-rounded because they're exposed to all different types of teaching, as opposed to one person telling you this is the way to do with things. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you could have multiple perceptions of.
And
the same
they're
idea.
highly motivated for the intrinsic values of motivation.
They also have the freedom to choose, as opposed to just being told you need to know this. You're being tested on this. If you know anything else, then you're not gonna succeed. You know.
There's some cultures, I think certain amounts of of Jewish culture and certain amounts of other culture where you're supposed to have a just kind of like like Spinoza was a lens grinder, you know, but he's one of the great philosophers of Western society. A lot of Chinese traditions is like just know something like plumbing, yet study poetry, right? How many come from a household like that? No one? Where your mom and dad said, hey, I want you to brush up on your Immanuel Kant tonight, and I need the sink fixed by tomorrow morning. No one? No. So, it's nice. Your parents did that. That's cool. That used to be the norm, where we didn't have to go to college to learn about Immanuel Kant or Karl Marx or whatever. How many have been to a bar anywhere where you can sit down next to someone attractive and say, you know, in the German ideology by Marx and Engels, I think the ratio of how that translates to the 21st century is still well in place. How many have had that happen to them at bars? No one. That's sexy, I can tell you that. Used to happen all the time. Yeah, when I lived in the East Village, you could saunter up to any bar and start opening up with the most esoteric stuff, and some cutie would fire right back, man. That's charged up. As filmmakers, where do we start, Angela?
We need to listen to the students, I think, because I think a lot of times we listen to politicians, people who aren't really in college right now. They don't really know the whole story. They just think of us as robots. We're just paying for school, getting our degree, and getting
You're
out
hanging
there, you know?
meat on a meat hook.
Like we're animals, like,
yeah.
you know, like you say. So
Not this place.
not this place. This place is
And
great.
I have right here the new famous Oculus Rift, which fits over your eyes. You can put in sound speakers. One could think that you could also put a neurosensor on it. Michael, is this the future of the? Am I looking at the university in a box?
I don't think so,
Why not?
because I think that completely dehumanizes the experience.
Well, so this is interesting. We're talking about humanity here. Many will pay and get loans for the reasons of humanity. Would you say so, Michael? It's human to go to. Did you want to live off campus,
I did.
away from your parents? You did not want to commute.
Here.
I know, but you love mom and dad, but you wanted an experience away from them, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
There you go. Who had that plan?
Oh yeah.
Why, colleague, why is that important for a young person to make? And because many societies, I lived in Italy, I lived in Korea, many societies, Italy, kids are living at home until they're 45. And they don't seem to have that problem Americans have with, what's mythical about that? Let's use Joseph Campbell and say that that's your growing, that's your descent into a hell, that's your ascent into a type of heaven. That's Jung would say that's your individuation, to separate yourself from the parent. What's structural in that, and why would a young person pay through the teeth to be separated from their mothers and fathers, and not in an adversarial way?
Okay, so if you're stuck in the same place for your whole life, you're probably not going to have a good time. You're not open to any new experiences at all. You're very closed-minded. You'll never be able to understand people on the outside of your little bubble. So by breaking that bubble, by expanding your horizons, that makes you more marketable, that makes you more aware of other people's situations, other people's circumstances, and it kind of just forces you to like adapt to any situation, really.
How many of you feel like a more complete human being away from your parents? We almost got everyone saying that. By human beings, I mean you work, you study, you enjoy life, you might party on weekends, you have sex, you're acting like an adult. You know, you hit puberty at 14. 100 years ago, you would have been married at 14. As shocking as that seems.
Here's a question to ask. When do you really become an adult?
That's a
Is
paradigm.
Are
That's,
you, when you're in college, is it when you go away from home for the first time? Is it when you're finally on your own, you have a job? Because for some people that could
when
be
you have a
18.
baby, when you go to
Yeah.
war, when you pay taxes, when you pay your first rent. This
Exactly.
is part funder. This is one of the last Uber questions we're going to talk about is like, when do you unfortunately, the way society is constructed is like when you accumulate enough debt.
6 months after graduation, you have to pay back debt. Is that enough time to really get a job? I
And
don't
then
think
spiritually, mythically, humanly, you become an adult when you start paying back. So how many in here agree when you start paying off a debt, you become an adult? Or is this a false paradigm? Philip?
I don't know, so soon you get into debt, maybe.
That's when you become an adult? And it's not sticking a bayonet through another human being. That's not when you become an adult like the paradigm
Some people.
50 years ago. Some people, yeah. Ladies, men, when you put a new life on earth, then do you become an adult? Some people, well, we noticed, right? What, Jung, how does this come about when people never grow up, never accept latent or manifest paradigm shifts?
There's tons of like moms out there or young parents that can't take responsibility for their life, so they do so anyway. So that's why I say
Right.
you would expect that a mother or father would, take responsibility for bringing them life, but they don't.
Did your parents?
No, my parents. I mean, like sometimes I think parents should go through like parenting school. But my parents are okay. But yeah, like because like it's okay in Korean culture, but their parenting style would definitely not be okay in
Right. And hence a cultural collision
American. Yeah.
between what they think you should be doing and what your American colleagues are saying, and you as an American saying, these are my choices. How many, I think this is an interesting question, to how many people living is about maximizing pleasure?
so. I'd say so.
Be honest. There's good, honest. If you don't, you're just masochistic, I think, for its own sake. And from the audience, how should we wind up asking our funder for money in providing traction? Any idea? Stephanie? How is our film going to be different? Because there are a handful of films out there, School Inc., number of films, documentary films out there already about the disconnect. What would make this film different? You have a professor here, you have a student here, making a partnership to make this film. Funder, I hope you trust that relationship. What else would give it a nice send-off?
More characters.
More characters, more testimonials, more...
Like more than just two people.
Oh, no, it's definitely going to be that. We're going to interview all of you and find some sort of control. Any other questions? Let's give both of us a hand. Funders, you'll see us on YouTube. Hi, Mom.